Welcome to 365 Wing Chun on YouTube. Like and subscribe if you like my stuff. Let's get to it. This video is going to cover some of the MMA fanboy meathead myths that are out there. Not all of them are meatheads, so I want to be very clear. I'm talking about the people that disrespect martial arts. I'm talking about the people that lie all the time. I'm talking about the people that follow Joe Rogan nonstop and that really do believe that the Ultimate Fighting Championship is the ultimate fighting test grounds for any kind of martial arts out there, even though it now has over 957 rules. So we're going to start off with a screenshot. This screenshot is something I just want to post up as an example of what happens when you run into an MMA fanboy meathead. I made a comment about how the guy in the video was not properly doing Wing Chun. This guy was very defensive. He was held back. He kept backing up when there was no need to retreat. Wing Chun, I said, is very explosive. And of course, we have the MMA meathead fanboy hopping in, and I know he's lying. He claims to have trained Wing Chun. Then he claims that Wing Chun is completely useless. Anybody who trains Wing Chun, even for one day, will have seen and worked with students and the Sifu and other higher ranking students and people that are well beyond the second form in Wing Chun, and they can see that it works. They can see what it does and doesn't do. They will never walk away saying that it couldn't work. There's no way. So this is going to absolutely be a criticism on both YouTube, on all martial arts and all martial artists who are posting these fake videos, labeling them as Wing Chun when they're not, or completely ignoring real Wing Chun. And there's a reason. They have an agenda. They just don't want to admit that Kung Fu works. They don't want to admit it. So what they do is they post fake Wing Chun or fraudulent Kung Fu. I don't know why, but Wing Chun is picked on more than any other Kung Fu system, at least from the MMA fanboy meatheads. I think it has something to do with Joe Rogan's ignorance. Many years ago, Joe Rogan was very against Kung Fu and Wing Chun, and he's completely changed his mind now. I don't care. That doesn't give him a pass. He's the, if there is such a thing as the leader of the beta males in this category. Joe Rogan started this idea that Kung Fu doesn't work while he never sparred anybody in Kung Fu, never fought anybody in Kung Fu. He was challenged many times, turned them all down. He was later called a simp. He was harassed. He was pointed out to being a beta male. You can literally type in Joe Rogan simp or Joe Rogan beta male. Have fun. YouTube is full of the videos and examples. So let's go ahead and get on with this video because I'm talking too much right now. And again, I'm not really defending Wing Chun in this. It doesn't need defending. It's just the fact that all these MMA fanboy meatheads don't understand what Wing Chun is and is not. They call everything under the sun Wing Chun, and we're going to give examples. So this is the screenshot, and I said this Wing Chun guy is very basic and breaking a lot of principles here. Wing Chun is explosive and aggressive. It does not sit back and stay defensive. So as you can see, this other guy comes in, and he says, Wing Chun is explosive and aggressive, ? Okay, then why do they train their most valuable techniques in slow motion? Now, I go on to explain that the drills are done in slow motion here because if you do them fast, you can actually hide mistakes. And then this guy goes on basically saying that Wing Chun doesn't work. You can read it for yourself and pause it. I absolutely don't believe that this guy ever studied Wing Chun. I don't believe he's ever sparred anybody in Wing Chun. He's a typical MMA meathead. So this is a great example right here of fraudulent Wing Chun. Look at these punches that this guy is throwing. They are all chambered. The elbows are out. Every single one of those punches are chambered. And yet for some reason everybody's calling this guy a Wing Chunner. He is, if I didn't know that it was taught with Wing Chun, I would say it's Taekwondo. None of this is Wing Chun. None of it. So this next fight right here that you're seeing is labeled Wing Chun as well, and they're saying this is a Wing Chun guy. The original video had another narrator, so he was pausing it at moments I want you to notice this guy's chasing hands here. He's leaning forward. Look at these chambered punches, elbows out, zero center control. The punches are to the far left and right. There's no Wing Chun here whatsoever. The guy's actually on his tippy toes running. And this fight actually gets even more ridiculous. So I want to point out that there's a difference between doing Wing Chun wrong and not doing Wing Chun. Had this guy actually been doing any Wing Chun in here and still gotten hit and beat, then I would still say his Wing Chun was just bad. But this guy literally does no Wing Chun. You can see from this clip, his elbows are out. He's not center guarding whatsoever. His punches are absolutely not Wing Chun punches. He's just playing around. And here in a few minutes, you actually see him get punched in the face quite a few times because he has no Wu hand up, no center guard, no guard towards the center whatsoever. Again, if I was watching this fight and it wasn't labeled as Wing Chun, I would say this is just a kickboxer. Some kind of kickboxer, maybe savate, maybe an American kickboxer. But look at this. Elbows out, everything. The guard is not in the center whatsoever. This guy eats a punch right here. Had he had his Wu hand up, obviously, his Wu hand would have caught that. And he just eats his punch. This is yet another ridiculous video on YouTube that is labeled as Wing Chun. And this guy is not Wing Chun. And I want to repeat. If this guy was doing Wing Chun and he was bad at it, I would point out he's bad at it. But he is not bad at it. He's not doing Wing Chun. So these are just two great examples of people who are not Wing Chun practitioners or students whatsoever. And yet they entered a ring. They got beat. There was absolutely zero Wing Chun happening in either of these fights. And for some reason the title up there says Wing Chun. Why is that? Well, we can't talk about Wing Chun frauds and fraudulence without talking about Steve Faulkner. I want you to pay attention to this video clip when I show it to you later on. This is from the UFC. This is Steve Faulkner in the locker room training with several other people. And I want you to pay attention to it when I show it later. So Steve Faulkner is from Virginia in Chesapeake. He lives about 2.5 hours away from me. In 2015, I went there looking for him. Not only is there no mention of him, but nobody in the town knew who he was. I actually did a full video on this, I believe around 2016 or 17, on my other account, and it was called Steve Faulkner did not do Wing Chun. And this got a lot of comments. It exploded a lot of people's minds. Now here we see Steve again in the locker room. I want you to pay attention. He does the exact same thing to the same person he's fighting, and it's rehearsed. Why would this be rehearsed if he's a Wing Chun guy? I want you to pay attention. Now he's slipping some punches, he's bobbing and weaving, freestyling a little bit. I don't have a problem with that. But the majority of his punches are not Wing Chun whatsoever. I want you to pay attention to this. He's doing the same thing to every one of these guys. It's the same thing.
And Steve Faulkner, 14-0, and this no doubt will be his toughest test because he's facing somebody who really found himself.
15 years in the discipline of Wing Chun with Duncan Leong. He has an undefeated fighting record of 14-0. He is 31 years old. He is Steve Faulkner.
Have to get in close. Let's see what he has in mind. As Zinoviev piles up right up. Oh! Extremely big advantage right away for Igor Zinoviev. He wasted no time, 10 seconds to say, I'm the boss. Now, will he be the boss? Side control, as we see, but Igor's got a tremendous...
So I hope you learned something. I only wanted to show a few clips. I could go on and on and on and on. In fact, I do openly narrate and point out how many of these videos are not Wing Chun on my other YouTube channel, which is actually named after me. It's not 365 Wing Chun, it's just using my name. I have an entire 15-minute video just on Steve Faulkner, on going to Chesapeake, Virginia. Nobody knows who this guy is. Now you tell me this, riddle me this, Batman. Even if you watching this went into the UFC, and let's say you lost horribly in 10 seconds like Steve Faulkner did, would your city or your state know your name? Nobody there seems to know who this guy is. I'm telling you, he's a ghost. Google him. Look him up. I suspect that during UFC's early years, they needed someone from Kung Fu, and they got this guy to BS his way in. His fight is over really quick. I believe it was a thrown match. I believe that this guy had the intention of getting in the ring, getting close to the guy, trying to get him in a choke, and just with the idea that, okay, we're going to grapple, and somewhere along the line, he's going to tap out, and he gets paid and goes on his way. Steve Faulkner is a ghost. You cannot find anything. Google him or YouTube him. You can't find anything on him other than this. I did a lot of digging and searching back in, I believe it was 2017. I looked for this guy everywhere. He showed up in Hawaii as a kickboxer, and then I found out later on it wasn't the same Steve Faulkner. There's two different spellings of his name, which I find very interesting, that UFC could not spell his name properly. There's two spellings of his name. And then the guy that shows up later on in Hawaii as a kickboxer is not the same Steve Faulkner. He's a much younger guy. This guy disappears off the face of this earth. So you tell me, he could have still opened a Kung Fu studio knowing that he lost. He could have still had students. He could have still got famous somehow. But nobody in his town of Chesapeake, Virginia knows who this guy is. So you tell me, is it likely that this guy's a legit guy? He has 13 years of Wing Chun. From where? There's no Kung Fu places in Chesapeake, Virginia. There is also no record of this man fighting anybody, even in a small town competition. I looked everywhere. I can't find anything on this guy. I'm telling you right now, there is an agenda against Kung Fu and Wing Chun. And I hope that you have learned something from this video and you can realize something. So the next time that you, MMA fanboy, are going to type on YouTube and you're going to try to claim something against Wing Chun, I'm asking you with the sincerity of my heart, use the scientific method. Go find a Wing Chun practitioner, someone who's legit. Do not go to Ling Ting, the Ling Ting dynasty. It's a fraudulent Wing Chun system. Go find any other lineage. There's so many of them out there. Find a studio and go make friends. Spar with them and record it. I want to see you walking away from a sparring match with somebody in Wing Chun and you obviously later on really claiming that Wing Chun just can't do anything. And if you can't find anybody and you happen to be in Ohio, give me a call. I will gladly spar with you. I touch hands with all kinds of people. I prefer to spar with people who are not in Wing Chun, and it's because they're easier for me to hit and beat. Let's just be honest. That's all it is. I have boxers. I have jiu-jitsu people that I spar with. I've made good friends with a taekwondo guy. And I just got into a friendship with a guy who does Kempo karate. Although I don't think that he's as high rank as what he claims. And that's just my opinion. I will be sparring with him later on. I will be putting up videos later on. But as of right now, I just want to put this information out to people. Steve Faulkner is a ghost. It's possible that that's not even his real name. And like I said, there are two different spellings of his name. Go look it up. It's Falkner and Faulkner. So which one is the right one and who is Steve Faulkner? Why is Wing Chun Kung Fu all over YouTube labeled as Wing Chun Kung Fu when it's not? Why are there many frauds in Wing Chun Kung Fu? And don't get me wrong, some of these idiots have some previous martial arts experiences, and then they come into these rings and they claim that they're Wing Chun when they're not. So in some cases, it's not the ring announcer's fault. It's not the fight promoter's fault. In some cases, it's these fighters and these students that come in and they claim to be Wing Chun when they're not. And again, who do we have to blame for this? When we have a fraud claiming to represent something, who do we have to blame for this? I'm going to actually point the finger at the Wing Chun community now. I call people out all the time and I get hate for it. Do you? If you don't and you have not, you are the reason why Steve Faulkner got in the UFC. You are the reason why there's not thousands of videos against Steve Faulkner in the UFC for making a fraudulent case. You are the reason why MMA fanboys point to Steve Faulkner and claim that he's a 13-year veteran in Wing Chun Kung Fu with 16-0 fights, and he lost the first fight in UFC. I'm not to blame. I call people out. So we in the Wing Chun community, we need to have the respect that we provide every other hobby, every other profession, every other skill and art. You will not find this anywhere else except for in the martial arts community. If someone pretends to be a doctor, they get called out, they get sued, they get in trouble. If someone pretends to be a lawyer, they get called out, they get sued, they get in trouble. If someone pretends to be an electrician or a carpenter or whatever, they get in trouble. So why is it that the community allows for this hogwash? I know the reason why, and it's because there's so many people who are fraudulent that they allow anybody else to come in and be fraudulent as well. And the real legit martial artists out there don't speak up enough. That's what it comes down to. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. And please do your homework. I want you to search for Steve Faulkner anywhere through Google or YouTube. Thank you for watching.